these movie remakes were better than the original. These days, it seems Hollywood only wants to make sequel after sequel or remake something classic. When the latter occurs, odds are it's going to suck compared to the original, but not in the case of these movies. Hello and welcome back to Starstruck Mini, and today we'll be taking a look at movies who are better remakes than the original. Stay tuned and watch the video right till the end to find out which movie makes the list. Little Shop of Horrors. The 1960 film The Little Shop of Horrors was directed by Roger Corman and is considered a classic. It inspired a musical release in 1982 off-Broadway, but it didn't stay there for long. It became so popular, it received a Broadway release when it remained in productions for 5 years. In 1986, Frank Oz released Little Shop of Horrors, starring Rick Moranis, Alan Green, Vincent Gardenia, and Steve Martin. Oz Films was adapted from the musical, adapted from the original movie, making it an adaptation of an adaptation. However, it remains mainly true to the Broadway play. For most Little Shop of Horror fans, the 1986 films is the best of the three, though few fans of Oz films have likely since the 1960 movie. Despite being overshadowed by the remake, the original film is as funny and dark as the remake. It rates 2% higher than the Oz movie according to the paid shares of the mainstream media on Rotten Tomatoes, but tanks at a massive 24% lower by the real viewer, which is the audience. It features an early appearance of Jack Nicholson. Interestingly, the 1986 film features the only time in film history that Steve Martin and Bill Murray shared the screen. The two comedy legends appeared opposite one another for less than 5 minutes of the screen time in the movie. Evil Dead 2. In 1981, Sam Raimi released a little movie called The Evil Dead. He made the film with just $90,000 he got from investors, and it's clear there wasn't a lot of money put into it. He screened it at 1982 Cannes Film Festival, which helped him earn widespread distributions. Thanks to a rare Stephen King review, by 1987, Raimi's career was exploding, so he was given the opportunity to make a sequel with a budget of $3.5 million. Initially, he wanted to do a proper sequel set in middle age via time travel, but the producers insisted it will be more like the original. To that end, Raimi made what many call a sequel or remake because the plot of Evil Dead 2 is incredibly similar to The Evil Dead. There are some different scenes and some important changes, but for the most part, it's a remake. Of course, if you ask Bruce Campbell, the film star, it's a requel. Evil Dead 2 is basically what happens when you give a filmmaker a budget that is nearly 40 times their original and let them run with it. Raimi not only redid this movie bigger and better than before, but he created a lasting film franchise in the process. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. In most cases, when a movie is remade, it retains the title of the original, but not always. The 1986 film Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is one of such films, as it's a remake of the 1964 movie Bedtime Story, starring David Niven and Marlon Brando. In Bedtime Story, the two actors play con artists who prey on women in a Mediterranean hotspot. One is more cultured than the other, and they bet one another to see who is the better con man. The same story was adapted by Frank Oz for the 86 film, starring Steve Martin and Michael Caine. Reviewers of both films placed Dirty Rotten Scoundrels well above its predecessor. Of course, like the rest of the movies on the list, the original isn't bad by any stretch of the imaginations. It just doesn't stand up to the remake, which is considered a classic. Even Dirty Rotten Scoundrels wasn't immune to being remade, and in 2019, another title was applied to the same story in a sex swap versions, and Hathaway and Rebel Wilson con men in The Hustle, though that version utterly bombed in comparisons to its predecessors. The Thing. When John Carpenter's The Thing hit theaters in 1982, it was widely slammed by critics and quickly became a box office bomb. It only made $19.6 million off a $15 million budget, which amounts to a loss for the studio. These days, it's a cult classic regarded as one of the greatest science fiction movies ever made. The movie is based on 1938 John W. Campbell Jr. novella, Who Goes There?, though it is not the first film adaptations of Campbell's work. The 1951 movie The Thing from Another World is the first movie to adapt Campbell's novella, and it did well upon release. It too has gone on to become a classic. Still, despite its success and its successor's failure, Carpenter's The Thing is widely considered the best of the two adaptations. Carpenter's movie used grotesque body horror special effects, which were brought to life by Rob Bottin with help from Stan Winston. The movie has since garnered a critical reassessment and has been called one of the most influential horror movies of the 1980s. Modern audiences who have been seen Carpenter films rarely take the time to watch the original, as it mainly been overshadowed by it. The Last of the Mohicans. There have been 11 film adaptations beginning in 1909, with the last coming in 1992. For most viewers, the 1936 film The Last of the Mohicans stood as the absolute best, which was true for a long time. That film starred Randolph Scott in the lead role